Islam Media.
لا تقل لوحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 7 after 10 o'clock. Welcome back to our final interview for the morning. We're going to be joined by Campaign Officer at AfriForum for Strategy and Content. He is Ernst van Zyl, and we're looking at the issue regarding the huge backlash as AfriForum fights for the right to display the old apartheid flag. Let's hear what's the thinking behind this matter. Ernst van Zyl, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the platform to give some valuable context around this case. I think it's a very important case for the bigger picture in South Africa, and I look forward to giving you all the information you need.
Okay, wouldn't it be argued, Ernest, that 27 years into our democracy, we've moved on? Yes, we have lots of issues in South Africa. We're all working very, very hard as civil society to make this country work. But to be taking out the old apartheid flag and kind of shoving it into the faces of the black people in South Africa. I mean, the judge, one of the judges has suggested that this constitutes nothing less than hate speech. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, firstly, I think it's important to understand that AfriForum doesn't display the flag. We don't wave the flag. If you want to, for people, if they look for examples of people waving the flag or photographs, they usually have to go back decades and then pretend like those photographs are recent, and then they're exposed that it didn't happen. But that's the thing about this case. It's not about AfriForum's desire to wave the flag or for our members to wave the flag. It's about the principle at the heart of it, and that principle is freedom of speech, and the principle that you can't set the precedent that you can ban symbols if they are offensive, because that opens a floodgate of other examples of symbols that will be banned, because offense is a very, very broad spectrum. It's almost limitless. I think many people in South Africa today are offended by the old Soviet flag, but the ANC and the South African Communist Party still wave it. Many people today in South Africa are offended by the ANC's flag itself. A flag that represents corruption to many, and a flag that represents tragedies like the Marikana massacre to many. If you were to ban the old South African flag because it is offensive, to be consistent, then you'd have to ban flags like the ANC's flag as well, if you're basing it purely on offense.
Okay, I don't necessarily agree with you on that matter. I mean, we have come out of the apartheid system. We've been ruled by apartheid for very many years. We are a new democracy. Again, I stress it. We have lots of issues to work through. And hopefully, if we can join hands, we can move forward on this. But the apartheid flag is very offensive to black people in South Africa, to me as well, because we know how we suffered under the rule of apartheid. It was divide and rule. It was segregation. We weren't allowed to marry across the color line. We weren't able to trade freely. We weren't allowed to move freely from province to province. There were huge restrictions placed on black people in South Africa. And that flag is a symbol of the hardship of our parents and our grandparents, the humiliation they underwent under apartheid rule. So if AfriForum could just shift their stance and look at it from that point of view, and perhaps not push this agenda, we probably would have more, possibly be able to work together and understand each other better.
Unfortunately, I can't say that I agree that this is just the case that needs to be shut. I definitely do not, and AfriForum doesn't deny that there are many symbols that cause offense, and I do definitely not deny that the old South African flag causes offense for many people. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that then we then, because something causes offense, we have to ban it. Like I said earlier, then other things are going to have to be banned as well because of what they represent. If the old South African flag represents all the evils of apartheid and therefore needs to be banned, the ANC flag needs to be banned as well. People might even be able to argue that the new South African flag has been tainted and then needs to be banned. That's the type of road we're going down. And we
Okay.
are and that's the thing that we're trying to stop. That's the fight for freedom of speech and freedom of expression, is not just defending the things that are easy to defend. When you're fighting for something as crucial as freedom of speech, you're going to have to fight when it's controversial. You're going to have to, that's when it's important. It's not difficult to defend the freedom of expression that everyone likes. It's difficult to defend freedom of expression when people are saying and doing things that other people dislike or find offensive. That's at the very core of the fight for freedom of expression, not just in South Africa, but across history.
Ernest, you would agree with me that that South African flag, the old one, the apartheid flag, is very offensive to the majority of the people in South Africa because of the suffering under the apartheid regime. Despite that, you're still insisting it's a question of freedom of speech. Then I ask you about, with due respect to the Jewish Holocaust, I ask you about the Nazi flag. How would people then respond to something like that? Because in my mind, they both equate to almost a similar thing. And that is very offensive to Jewish people, people that had relatives and family members killed in the Holocaust. I see it as one and the same thing. And I think we, uh, different people, different colors in South Africa, should start beginning to understand each other and move forward. I can't for the life of me try and get my mind around the fact that raising the South African, the apartheid flag, is freedom of expression. How? How can that
When you
possibly be freedom of expression when I can say to you, with due respect to you, I can say to you, your grandparents, uh, you know, were the occupiers, were the rulers. They were responsible for the disappearance and killings of a
no,
lot
Julie,
of.
I'm going to have to interrupt you. Interrupt you there. That's a very personal point. You have no
No, no,
idea who
it's
my
not. I'm
grandparents
using
were.
it. No, no, no. I'm saying is if I use it as a reference and saying because you Afrikaans, what happened in the days of apartheid was done in the name of the
No, whether
Afrikaner
I'm
nation.
Afrikaans, I'm sorry, whether I'm Afrikaans or not has nothing to do with that. That doesn't make me inherently guilty of anything in the
I
past.
didn't say you guilty. I didn't say you guilty. I'm trying to show you how offensive the flag is to people who have lost loved ones to the apartheid regime. When when people were locked up, when their homes were burst into in the middle of the night because they were supposed political prisoners and they were detained without
Julie, I
trial,
know. I
etc.
think our time is limited. I understand. That we're not
Okay, I'll give you.
denying what
I
happened
will
under
give you.
apartheid.
All right, I will
I
give
would
you the.
like to.
I will give you the opportunity to respond.
Hmm.
But again, I say it with due respect to you. I'm not suggesting that your grandparents were responsible or guilty of anything. I'm using that as an example. So I do apologize for that. Please respond.
When you look at the debate or the conversation we're having here, it's not about whether apartheid was wrong or not. I can sit here and tell you that apartheid was wrong and I do not support it and I would not want to go back to it. That's not a difficult thing for me to do, but that's not the debate here. The debate here is about the banning of the old South African flag. I know that it has a connotation to apartheid, but it is a flag older than apartheid. It was a flag that was started being used in 1928, 20 years before apartheid. The South African military fought the Nazis under that flag. Now that you bring up the swastika was the enemy of that flag in for 20 between that era during the Second World War. And the Nazi flag was a party flag. That's why it is banned in many European countries. The old South African flag is not a party flag. It is not an MP flag. It's not a flag that represents a certain party. Therefore, It is not the same thing to be able to be compared. What we're looking at here is the banning of political symbols because they cause offense, but many other things cause offense that then would have to be banned as well. For example, me coming from a farming community, someone that knows people close to me that have been affected by attacks on farms. When our president and many high-ranking politicians go on television or international platforms and they say that there's no murdering of white farmers in South Africa, I find that deeply offensive. But I don't advocate that their speech should be banned, no matter how offensive I find it. And I can't even imagine what it feels like for a victim of a farm attack, or someone that is a family member of someone that was tortured and murdered, hearing someone say that there's no murdering of farmers in South Africa, but they're not calling for the banning of that speech, even though it is deeply offensive. So absolutely, there is offense that is caused by certain speech and by certain symbols. But then also, as you stated your case, I'd like to state my case, that it's not a one-way street. It's not just one group's offense. There are many things that are offensive. And if we are going to start banning things because they are offensive, we are going to have to start banning a very long list of things, and that is going to get very chaotic. And that is what AfriForum is trying to prevent. The value of freedom of speech and the debate surrounding freedom of speech has everything to do with the principle. The thing about when you're fighting for freedom of speech, you don't get to fight for it on the terms that you would have liked. Nobody needs to stand up to fight for the speech that everyone likes. When freedom of speech is threatened, it is usually because of things that are controversial. And you can see that under the old regime when it banned books and films that it deemed offensive, using the same exact logic during the apartheid regime that's being used now today.
Point taken. So we do know that the judge has said that that would constitute hate speech, the unbanning of that flag. How does so? Knowing the history, knowing what I have sketched out on the interview this morning, and point taken from what you have just also sketched out, if this flag is not banned, how is AfriForum and its members, or the broader Afrikaner community, or South African citizens as a whole, how are they going to be using this flag? What is the symbol going to mean to them? Where and how they're going to display it? That, I think, is the difficulty for me as well.
If the flag is not banned,
Yes.
AfriForum will continue to not display it. It's as simple as that, and our members will continue to be discouraged from displaying it. I don't really have a very long answer there. It is really as simple as that.
So why even call for it to be unbanned if you're not going to display it? I mean, can you hear? Can you see a bit of a dilemma here?
No, there's absolutely not a dilemma, because this is about a principle, not about a flag. That's exactly what I've been saying this entire time. I do not display the flag. AfriForum has no desire to display the flag. But because this is about freedom of speech and not about the flag, we are fighting for this cause anyway. That is the entire point. That demonstrates my point exactly, that it's not fighting for a flag that we desire to display. We are fighting for a principle that is enshrined in our very constitutional order as a nation.
Okay, I think you and I are going to disagree on this matter, but we leave it there. Thank you. I do appreciate your time. I appreciate the points you've made. I can't agree with you. You're not going to agree with me, but point taken, because I just feel it's kind of almost a useless exercise in having this symbol or this flag unbanned, and it's not going to be displayed anyway. I'm just kind of wondering what's the point in it all. But thank you for your thoughts. And once again, let me just hasten to add, I do apologize when I made reference to your grandparents. It wasn't directly at you. I was using it as an example. So please do accept my apology on that one.
Apology accepted, Julie. No problem at all. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
And you're a gentleman. It was nice talking to you, and I'm glad that we've agreed to disagree on this matter. You go well. Have a wonderful day.
Walk well, Julie. I'll chat to you again in the future, hopefully.
I look forward to it. I do look forward to it. It is exactly 10:21 exactly. News and views rounding up for the day. Thank you for your time. It was quite a show, was it not? Very heavy indeed. Politics, and more politics. Inshallah, we will be playing out with Juice 8 by Yasin Al-Dosari. Thank you once again till tomorrow morning at the same time. As always, to the production team, thank you indeed for your hard work. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.